Gentlemen, dear friends, almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong. The origin of man, civilizations, and pyramids. 100 years of Egyptology about the pyramid science has been wasted. We still don't know who, when, how, and why built the biggest, the oldest, and the most superior Egyptian pyramid. Egyptologists claim that this was the first one, built by the pharaoh Djoser of the 3rd dynasty. Not a single proof for that. In underground labyrinth, ceramic artifacts have been found 1,200 years older than the time of the pharaoh Djoser. The pharaoh Sneferu did not build 3 huge colossal pyramids, Bent in Dahshur, or beautiful red pyramid, a cross. Not a single proof outside or inside. No painting in the corridors. No royal furniture, mummy, organic material, tools, or anything else to scientifically prove that claim. And he did not build the 3rd one, the step pyramid in Meidum. Of course, the pharaohs of the 4th dynasty, Cheops, his son Khephren, and Myceren, a grandson to Cheops, did not build those pyramids. No proof for that. No hieroglyphic writings, no mummies, no organic material. Inside, perfect corridors, empty chambers. We do not know the purpose of these perfect structures. The ancient Egyptians did not have tools or the knowledge to build them. The story about the oldest Egyptian pyramids ends in Abu Sir, 4 step pyramids. And again, we do not know who built them. 224 pyramids in Nubian Kingdom, today's northern Sudan, 70 degrees slope. But the pyramids are not built only on African soil, but also to the north of it, Sicily and Sardinia, to the west of it, Canary Islands, and to the east of it, the island of Mauritius. 43 step stone pyramids on the island of Sicily. We do not know who or why. 9 step pyramids in Guimar, eastern part of the Tenerife. The Spanish scientific community is saying this is just a pile of rocks. They don't see 4 triangular faces, plateau on the top, the same height of the steps, the same width, perfectly shaped cornerstones. And they don't see that the eastern side, look at the summer solstice sunrise. You go 5,000 kilometers to the east, the island of Mauritius. You go to the dense sugarcane fields, you can see the stone structure. Climbed up top of one of it, 7 perfectly shaped stepstone pyramids. The same design like on Canary Islands. Perfect eastern orientation. When I sent my preliminary report to the government of Mauritius, asking them to investigate those, they said, Dr. Osmanagic, these are not pyramids. This is just a pile of rocks made by the farmers while de-rocking the area to plant the sugarcane fields. Almost 10,000 pyramids on Central American soil. The Mayan civilization, who used to live in 5 today's countries, Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Belize, and Honduras, built them, but we do not know the purpose. The one in Tikal, 94 meters, was long held as the biggest one. El Mirador is 105 meters, this one 94 meters. 4 triangular faces, orientation to the cardinal points, east, west, north, and south. Palenque, one of the most beautiful city of Mayas. In Chiapas, 20% of the city have been taken from the jungle, but still 80% of the pyramids are inside the jungle. Western Honduras, Copan, the biggest pyramid, 1987 to 89, they were cleaning it and discovered much older temple inside the pyramid, 700 years older, which they called Rosalila. The pyramid was used as the protection for something much more valuable. Tiny British Honduras or Belize had 1,000 Mayan cities, villages, and every one of them would have at least one pyramid. Most of them are still covered by soil and vegetation. El Salvador has 4 places open for the public. This is San Andres. Pyramids are still in most cases covered by soil and grass. Some of them partially reconstructed. Kukulkan Pyramid, a lot of archaeological, astronomical, geometrical, and mathematical knowledge have been incorporated in this pyramid. Almost the same design, 12,000 kilometers to the east, northeastern Cambodia, 50 kilometers east from Angkor Wat, Koh Ker Pyramid. If we go another 2,000 kilometers to the east, the Korean Peninsula, near the city of Andong, 3 stepstone pyramid. 250 years ago, when the Dutch salesmen landed to Tahiti, they found a pyramid of significant size. 85 by 30 meters was rectangular base. The Chinese pyramids have been a mystery for a very long time. The Chinese government ordered the trees to be planted in order to hide them from the outside world. But thanks to the satellite technology, we were able to find all 250 of them in the central Chinese province of Shanxi. As we can see behind this handsome guy, most of them are still covered by soil and vegetation. They have 20 big ones and 230 small ones. The small ones, they started excavation, and they do belong to the time frame, the last 2,200 years. The artifacts have been found, and we can tie them to the certain Chinese emperors. But the biggest one are built from the much superior material, from granite and from sandstone blocks. They don't touch them. They don't have a permit to work on them. Why? Because they don't fit the Chinese history. According to some investigations from 1966 and 67, their age is 12,500 years. All of them have the same orientation, east, west, north, and south. Southern America, Bolivia, the complex of Acapena pyramids. Today, there is not much left, but we can see the granite blocks around. They perfectly fit one to each other. Laser precise surface, and some of them like they were machined. Who had machines and lasers thousands of years back? According to the archaeologists, only the copper tools were in this area 2,000 years back. Now, copper is inferior to granite. It cannot shape it. Southern Peru, 34 Cavachi pyramids. Who built the city of pyramids? Not Nazca culture that Italian archaeologists made up. They were built much, much before than 1,800 years ago. Northern Peru, Tucumán pyramids, 250 of them. We can see the signs of vertical erosion. They are saying 2,000 years old. The problem is there was no climate change for the last 7,000 years. So when did we have the rains and storms? When it lasts 7,000 years, we got dry desert climate. The biggest pyramid on the South American soil, the Pyramid of the Sun, or Huaca del Sol, near the city of Trujillo, 140 million bricks were built into this pyramid. Archaeologists are saying 30,000 people needed 300 years to build this complex. two problems. We don't have cities, 30 or 50,000 investigated in this area. And the second one, why would someone start building a complex if the grandchildren of his grandchildren will not see the completion date? Northern Mexico, Tula, 3-step stone pyramids. On top of one of them, 8 stone columns. They show the faces of different races, black and white and red and yellow and brown. Officially, this was the capital of Toltecs. Well, if we agree with the official idea that the Toltecs were the culture that had their capital from 8th to 12th century here, how come they knew about the races from all continents? They tell us that only with the superior white Europeans the communication between the continents started 500 years ago. Wrong. The communication was thousands and thousands of years back. Monte Alban, the second biggest ceremonial center in Mexico. They flattened the mountain. They made such a flat area that from one end to another, the difference is just 2 centimeters. All the pyramids are on north-south axle, most of them being recovered, but some of them are still waiting for better times and more money. This is the look of the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, probably the most beautiful one in Central America, 150 years ago, completely covered by soil and vegetation. It took 75 years for American and Mexican archaeologists to clean it and reconstruct it. This is a view in 1960. This is now, 21st century, one of the best examples of pyramid architecture. Square base, the same like Cheops pyramid. 230 meters long sides, the same like Cheops pyramid. 74 meters, Cheops exactly 2 times higher. Root from number pi incorporated here. In the case of Cheops, number pi. 3 big pyramids in Teotihuacan, Sun, Moon, Quetzalcoatl, 3 big pyramids on Giza Plateau, Cheops, Khafre, and Myceren. The layout exactly the same. We are seeing the signature of the same architect. 200 pyramids on US soil, southwestern part of the state of Illinois, in Cahokia State Park. The biggest one, the Monk's Mound, 12% bigger base than the Cheops pyramid. American archaeologists are underestimating the complex. They are calling them mounds. They're not mounds. They have 4 types of construction material: sandstone plates, pebbles, sand, and squares. They were cutting the grass with the soil, turning them upside down, covering those pyramids. All 200 have perfect orientation towards the cosmic north, east, west, north, and south. All but one, the biggest one. That one was oriented towards the magnetic north. Americans are saying this was built by Indian tribes. Tribes do not have social organization to build the pyramids. The Pyramid of the Moon, Teotihuacan, 150 years ago, one would say just a natural hill. This is how it looks like today. 20 to 50,000 visitors every day, 4 million a year, $5 billion goes to Mexican economy. 8 million tourists in Egypt every year to see the pyramids, and they leave $15.5 billion to Egyptian economy. 6 years ago, I first came to the Bosnian town of Visoko to visit the local museum. But what really caught my attention was this: the biggest and the oldest pyramids of all. We have learned that the pyramids have nothing to do with the pharaohs or with the tombs. They are architecture above all. I've established 5 criteria for the pyramids. Number 1, geometry. We have to have triangular faces. In most cases, 4 of them, and they meet in apex. The base can be square or rectangular. Of course, the corners are obvious. Number 2 is the orientation. For some reason, all Chinese pyramids are oriented towards the cardinal points, or more precisely, to the north. Most of the Egyptian ones also to the north. The northern side of the Cheops pyramid has a tolerance of 0 degrees and 2 minutes. And it was considered the best oriented pyramids. Most of Peruvian pyramids, Guatemalan and American, have the same orientation. We had a team from the Bosnian State Institute for Geodesy climbing the top several times, coming with the instruments, and they claim that the northern side of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun have a tolerance of 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and 12 seconds. The best precise orientation ever. The criterion number 3, construction material. We're going to see that. Number 4, inner corridors and chamber, and number 5, underground tunnel network. Let's see how the pyramid in Bosnia looks like from the air. The town of Visoko, 20,000 people, eastern and northern side. From this line up, 220 meters. The Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico, 74, Cheops 147, 220. In the last 6 years, we got a very interesting phenomenon. For the first time, it was not the government institution, the Ministry of Culture, Department of Archaeology, the museum, to start with such a huge project. It was a non-profit, non-government foundation called Archaeological Park Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation. In the last 6 years, we've spent 340,000 hours on archaeological excavation, sample testing, radiocarbon dating, and concluded the town of Visoko, 30 kilometers northwest from the capital city of Sarajevo, we have the biggest pyramidal complex on the planet, which consists of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, Love, the Tumuli complex, and under the pyramid complex, we have the most extensive tunnel networks with intersections and chambers and underground lakes. Probably due to its size of the Bosnian pyramids, we got the ad in the newspaper that we are exchanging one big pyramid in Visoko for 2 smaller ones in Egypt. And we are just negotiating the terms. 3 biggest pyramids, the Sun, Moon, and Dragon, form a perfect equilateral triangle when we connect the tops of the pyramids, 2,180 meters, with the inner angles at 60 degrees. The summer solstice, June 21st, the shadow of the Sun Pyramid, 6:30 p.m., the western slope of the Moon Pyramid, just before the sunset. The shadow formed another pyramid of the same height, like we are looking them in the mirror. 2 months later, we are still watching the shadow of the Sun Pyramid, going towards the western side of the Moon Pyramid, and at the sunset, we can see the shadow completely covers the Moon Pyramid, with the top of the shadow touching the top of the Moon Pyramid. In a symbolical way, it's saying the rule of the day and the sun is over, and the rule of the night and the moon starts. I named them 6 months before I knew about this phenomenon. We opened the project for everyone. From first day, At the site, we got experts from mainstream, conservative, alternative science with two conditions. We asked them to do non-destructive methods, and we asked them to share their results with us immediately, so we can share them with the world. There is no elite science in Bosnia. This is cultural heritage that belongs to the world. The leading European geophysicist from German company LJ Bautechnik, led by Dr. Andreas Hassenstab, came with the georadar instruments that can penetrate the surface for 18 meters. We were checking several locations on the northern side with their instrumentation, and in their written report, they are saying after 10,000 square feet, they discovered 44 anomalies, meaning that it cannot be explained by the natural forces. They did confirm existence of the pyramid walls, blocks on top of each other, inner corridors. This is one of them, 5 meters below the ground. This inner corridor is located on private land. The landlord tried to sell this land 7 years ago before we started the project for 10,000 euros. Nobody wanted to buy. Once he saw that he has potential entrance to the pyramid, he approached me with the words, "I'd like to sell this land for 400,000 euros. I told him we are not in real estate business, and thinking we're going to be waiting until the area is claimed research area and until we have controlled entrance. We don't want the private individuals to control the entrance to the biggest pyramid on the planet." Then what we did, we used a satellite radar, northern side of the pyramid of the sun, and those straight lines show the inner tunnels inside the pyramid. We can see they are straight, they meet, they intersect at 90 degrees. Then we had a team of geophysicists from Belgrade, Institute for Physics. They applied very sophisticated methods. We sent them to the same places like Germans, did not tell them the results, and they confirmed all the German results. For example, on this aerial view of the Sun Pyramid, we can see the western corner between west and north, corner between north and east, corner between west and south. Here is the access plateau, the causeway, which leads all the way to the top of the pyramid. According to the Serbians, first meter we got the soil and grass, and then 1 meter deep we have the pavement, which is 250 meters long, 80 meters wide. It is paved by sandstone plates, perfectly smooth on the top, 15 centimeters thick. And then we wanted to control that. We hired a company who do the geological core drilling. Every 25 meters we were drilling and proved that we indeed have the pavement. On this beautiful three-dimensional topographical map, we can see what we saw on aerial view. Nicely, corners between west and north, between north and east and south. We can see the causeway and the plateau on the top. Every original pyramid would have a plateau on the top. In China, in Egypt, in Peru, in Mexico, in Bosnia. But the pyramidions are missing. They were always made from superior material, granite or even gold. Somebody intentionally removed them all. We applied the thermal analysis. We checked the temperature of the valley during the daytime and during the night time. We wanted to see how quick the energy is lost from the natural hills and from the pyramids. The pyramids of the sun, moon, dragon, and love lose the energy much quicker than the natural hills due to existence of inner passageways and chambers. Dr. Harry Oldfield came to film the electromagnetic field. This is a natural hill, and the electromagnetic fields are invisible to naked human eye. We can see they are horizontal. This is the view of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. And for some reason, electromagnetic fields are vertical. And now we will see why. As you will see, the red color is the energy which got accumulating inside the pyramid. It gets bigger and bigger, and then it got released through the top. See? And because of so much energy coming up, the horizontal electromagnetic fields are becoming vertical. Disregard this. This is not part of today's lecture. Some geologists were saying, well, in Bosnia, everything is natural. It's geological phenomenon. Everything is made by the tectonic movement. So we got the geological maps that show tectonic movements. That's a blue arrow. And the yellow is the orientation of the pyramid sides. As we can see, the angle is totally different. The slopes to the base are rounded numbers. University of Sarajevo did the checking on radioactivity, concluding that there was no radioactivity in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. Then we invited the leading Russian geophysicist, Professor Kavroshkin, Professor Tsiplakov from the Schmidt Institute from Moscow. After 2 seasons in Visoko with the sophisticated seismic instruments, they concluded that the Bosnian pyramids have the same properties like Egyptian pyramids, unlike the natural hills. And they concluded that under the pyramids is a huge underground network. After they submitted their report to the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences, they submitted me as the youngest member, and they were saying this is one of the biggest discoveries, not only in archaeology, but in science. Few words about the archaeology. The view of the Sun Pyramid. These are the places where we did archaeological digging. This is a place where 2 sides meet, north and east. Once you remove about 60-70 centimeters of soil, we are finding the corners of the pyramid. All other places show that we have construction material below the layers of soil. Remember Mexican pyramids, before and after. Northeast corner, 2006. This is north, this is east, remove the soil. Northwest corner, the green color is the corner. The length is about 200 meters. The red is perfectly straight line. We can see that the green almost perfectly matches red most of the way. Our archaeological trench number 4C, 80 centimeters of soil was removed, and we are finding rectangular blocks, 4.5 meters, 4.5, 45 centimeters, 7 tons. Flat top, flat side, flat bottom, 6 flat sides. 6 times breaks at 90 degrees, obviously made by intelligent hand. Next to this one is the other one. They form the same slope, and the third one, and the fourth one. And this is just the first row of blocks. Below that is the second row. The third one is moved a little bit because of the structural stability. And then the fourth one, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mother Nature does not construct. That's what the man does. So, on the half a meter or 80 centimeters of soil, we are finding the construction. We took the samples from those blocks, sent them to 6 different institutes for materials, 4 of them in Bosnia, 1 in France, 1 in Italy. Institute for Construction from Bosnia, Tuzla, said that these blocks are artificial construction material. Institute for Materials, University of Sarajevo, claimed that the samples they got was the concrete, man-made concrete. 2 properties of concrete define the quality of concrete. One is hardness. Our modern concretes in 21st century are in the range from 10 to 40 megapascals. This particular sample was 73.6 megapascals, 2 times harder than our best concretes. The second element, the second property, is the water absorption. If the water can get into the concrete during the winter, it freezes, it breaks. So we try to keep it very low. In our case, 3%. In this case, the ancient kept it at 1%. Professor Pasic from University of Zenica tested 50 samples, and some of them were reaching unbelievable level of 133 megapascals. Never in human history such a good quality concrete was made like here in Bosnia. And probably that explains why the Bosnians are excellent construction workers even today. Professor Pasic concluded in his report, the builders of the Bosnian pyramids used readily available material, rocks, sand, pebbles. And for binding material, they used clay. They ground clay, mixed it with the water, heat it up to 400 or 500 degrees, and at that temperature, clay is getting binding properties. The ancient Romans knew that when they built the Colosseum and other structures. But here, on the Bosnian soil, the builders of the pyramids knew that thousands of years before the ancient Romans. That's why it was very interesting to hear what the Italians would say about our samples. We sent them to the Politecnico di Torino in Turin, Italy. 25,000 professors, PhD, masters, civil engineers. They got our samples, and in their written report, they simply repeated what we already knew. The binding material for the concrete was produced by clay heating process at high temperatures. So if you have something which is of geometry of the pyramid coated with the concrete, you have artificial pyramid. Professor Regic, the biologist, was analyzing the cultures, the plants on the southern side of the Sun Pyramid, concluded that some of the plants belong to the much warmer climate, Mediterranean climate. How is that possible? The Visoko is in continental climate. Well, during the spring and the summer, due to existence of inner passageways and chambers, the temperature of the surface is 5 degrees Celsius higher. So our process in 2006, we were removing the soil and showing our best productivity. 1 guy is working, 100 is watching. And on top of that, 1 is holding the speech. Well, when I came up with the hypothesis that we have the first pyramids in Europe, Bosnian cultural establishment reacted very negatively. From the Department of Archaeology and History, University of Sarajevo, Professor Imamovic and the others were saying it's nonsense. There are no pyramids in Europe or in Bosnia. The people from the National Museum were saying the same thing. They're saying, oh, this guy came from Texas just to make money from the poor people. And they wrote a petition to the Bosnian government asking them to stop the research in 2006. The Bosnian Prime Minister, Dr. Hadžipašić, came to the site. He saw those concrete blocks, rectangular in shape. He said, this is a man-made. He saw thousands of tourists pouring to the site. He said, this is good for economy. Mr. Osmanagić, you just continue. Don't worry about the jealous scientists. But they got very upset. They wrote to Dr. Anthony Harding, the head of European Archaeological Association, here in London. They said we need to stop this guy. So Dr. Harding started writing in media, saying it's a nonsense, there are no pyramids in Bosnia. He wrote another petition with 50 scientists from UK, from US, from Western Europe, asking, at that time, Dr. Schwarz-Schilling, who was Bosnian High Representative, to stop the project. Dr. Schilling came to the side, he said, this is all artificial. Don't worry about them. But they got upset. They wrote letters to all national European Archaeological Association, Italy, France, Germany, Poland, Croatia, asking them to boycott the project, threatening archaeologists if they go to Visoko, they will not find their jobs when they come back to their countries. And sure enough, in 2006, I did not have archaeologists from Europe in Bosnia. So what I did, I wrote to the Egyptian government, asking them to send me 3 experts. First, they sent me Dr. Ali Barakat, the guy with a few decades experience in geology and archaeology. He wrote a book about building of Egyptian pyramids. He spent 42 days. On June 23rd, 2006, he had a big press conference in Sarajevo, and he was showing his report. And he ended his report with the words, Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is a man-made pyramid. We got panic and a shock in the Bosnian cultural establishment. Zilka Kujundžić from the National Museum is writing a letter to Pharaoh Zahi Hawass in Cairo, the guy who was running the Supreme Council of Antiquities. And she was saying, Dr. Hawass, we have your man here in Bosnia. He claims that these are the real pyramids. It's impossible. You have to stop him. 2 days later, June 25th, 2006, meeting in Cairo between the Ministry of Tourism of Egyptian government, Ministry of Culture of Egyptian government, and Supreme Council of Antiquities. One topic on agenda, influence of discovery of Bosnian pyramids to Egyptian tourism. Exactly at noon, Dr. Hawass is coming in front of hundreds of journalists with the words, Bosnian pyramids do not exist. Those blocks are natural geological phenomena. Dr. Barakat is no expert in pyramids. He wrote a letter to his boss, Institute for Minerals of Egyptian government, and they fired him. And Dr. Hawass was saying, and as far as Osmanagic, he is hallucinating. Well, we kept hallucinating. And open our project for the world. We invited volunteers from all over the world to join us in this history-changing process, despite all the boycotts, despite all the pressure. Hundreds of people came that are helping us removing the dirt and soil and exposing the concrete blocks. They were aware that they are part of something so globally important. Another month later, July 2006, I had a face-to-face TV show with the president of the Bosnian State Commission for National Monuments, Dr. Lovrenović. He said there are no pyramids in Bosnia. If you prove that they are, I'm going to burn myself on top of your pyramid. Well, the proofs were here. So they were getting nervous. And at their commission, they decided to expand a little protection zone 400 meters away, where medieval town used to be, to the whole pyramid. They expanded it for 97 times. And then we were not allowed to work here anymore. His buddy, Minister for Culture, Mr. Grahovac, was sending inspections every day to make sure that we don't work here. Well, I said, okay, they don't want us on the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, but we have more pyramids. Look at this little pyramid in El Salvador, El Chuatan. Look at the form and geometry. The form and geometry the same. Just this time we are back to Bosnia, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon. Here it is, the western triangular slope. We've opened 46 archaeological trenches, from the bottom to the top. Everywhere we were digging, we were finding paved terraces, rectangular structures, vertical walls, more terraces, steps, shaped blocks, more walls. In other words, under the layers of soil is a huge stone structure in the shape of the pyramid with triangular faces with the perfect orientation. So how you call it? You call it a pyramid. Our archaeological trench number 20, approximately half on the western slope, we removed 80 centimeters of soil and clay started forming. And we exposed the beautiful shaped sandstone blocks, one next to each other with the binding material between them, which is of the same origin like on the Sun Pyramid. In other elements for Bosnian productivity here. So how old is the soil that covers the pyramid? The Institute for Agropedology from Bosnia took the samples from Sun and the Moon Pyramid, concluding in their written report that the age of the soil on this substrate is between 12 and 15,000 years. Officially, Egyptian pyramids are 4,600 years old. How is it possible that the Bosnian pyramids are older than Egyptian ones? That's probably the reason why so many Egyptians are coming to Visoko to get their birth certificate. Well, even when we started with the Moon Pyramid, nicely shaped blocks, it was so obvious that they were man-made. Some geologists from their cozy offices in Sarajevo, in Tuzla, in Paris, in London, in New Orleans, New York were saying it's all natural. And one of them, Dr. Robert Schock, even came here and he said, oh, it's all natural. Natural. He did not take any test samples, but he was talking about the motives. He said, oh, Mr. Osmanagic, he has political ambitions and he wants to make money. And sure enough, 2006 we did have election, but I was not on the list. 2008, 2010 again, and again, I don't care about the politics. You can help your country and the science by running these projects. And as far as the money, well, I spend all my savings on this project. In 2010, hundreds of volunteers poured to Bosnia again. And for the first time, I was getting archaeologists from Europe, from Italy, from France, from Spain, from UK, from Hungary, from Croatia, from Malaysia and Egypt also. They did not care about the boycott and about the threats, because they said this is much more important than those spirit threats. What we noticed was that the top layer seemed like it was glue to the base of those sandstone plates. So what we did, we removed the top layer, we found the brownish material in between, possibly organic material. Riccardo Brett, Italian archaeologist, took the samples with me. We sent them to the Polish lab in Gliwice, Silesian Institute for Technology. And according to them, the organic material that we found is 10,350 years old, plus minus 50 years. We were removing the soil from the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon, exposing the terrace, the second one, the third one, then we cut the hole to see the section. And what we found, the first row of blocks, the layers of clay, the second row of blocks, the layer of clay, the third one, the layer of clay. The ancients were smart. They knew that the clay was perfect natural construction material. It can act as the insulation, it's waterproof, and it gives the structure the flexibility. In the case of the earthquakes, the structure does not collapse, it breathes. We are at the bottom of the western slope of the Moon Pyramid, and we can see the sandstone plates, the first terrace, and then the clay which was used as the construction material in huge quantities. The second, medium-sized plates, clay, the smaller layer. And the third, very small, tiles. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, all the way to the top. It seems that we do have Fibonacci formula here. Now, clay was used in huge quantities in China in the case of their pyramids. We can see one of them, 90% of the pyramids was built from clay. Even the underground tunnels, clay, and to some extent, bricks and sandstone plates. We are back to Bosnia, beautiful tiles. We can see the step. 7 meters away, another step. 7 meters away, another step. So when you have equal distances, somebody had a plan. Another tile terrace. They were shaped on all 6 sides, laid out, between them binding material. 3 kilometers from the Pyramid Valley is a tumulus complex in a place called Vratnica, 32 meters above the road. The biggest tumulus in the world, Silbury Hill, 60 meters. But hey, Bosnia has the biggest pyramids, so let's see what's going to happen here. We checked the tumulus with the georadar. Soil, grass, yellow is clay, blue are the terraces, megalithic terraces. Red, the passageways, they go very deep. This is the beginning of excavation on one of the megalithic terraces, the combination of clay and blocks. And we can see the rapid improvement in Bosnian productivity. One is working and just 2 are posing for the cameras. The megalithic terrace consists of huge blocks, 23,600 kilo, 20 tons, 18 tons, 12, 15, 10. We can see the texture on the top, the same like on the Moon Pyramid, which makes us believe that the builders are the same. Now this texture is actually just one layer, 8 centimeters thick, and it is glued to the base, which is 55 centimeters. 2-layered megalithic blocks. Mother Nature does not do that. Intelligent hand does. We did the geological core drilling on 3 places. The most interesting one was from the very top. We said we were going to go 70 meters deep, even though it is only 32 meters above the road. We wanted to make sure that there was nothing under the tumuli. We were extracting this geological material, the core, and when we hit 54 meters, the head of the machine broke, meaning it hit something very hard. We replaced the head. We went very slowly, adding the water to cool the machine. Next 2.5 meters, we were getting pieces of concrete. And then from 56 to 59, for 3.5 meters, it was empty. From 59 to 61, another 2.5 meters of concrete. What happened? The ancient builders were digging 20-something meters deep. They poured the concrete foundation. They built the chamber 3.5 meters high. And then they built this heavy-duty concrete ceiling, and they built an artificial hill. 61 meters, Silbury Hill 60. Not the right place to talk about heights. I took the sample to the leading world expert in ancient cements, Dr. Joseph Davidovic. He looked at it, he said, this is a man-made concrete. he put it under the electronic microscope and confirmed that the part of it is what he calls geopolymer cement. Last year we did very interesting energy and electromagnetic detections. We got a team of physicists from Zagreb, Croatia, led by Mr. Mizrak. And we were checking the frequencies of hertz, kilohertz, megahertz, and gigahertz. We were going around the pyramid of the sun. No anomalies. But when we came to the very top, to the center of the plateau, they were able to detect the energy beam 4.5 meter radius of the 28 kilohertz frequency. So for the first time in the pyramid science, what people were guessing, now we proved and we measured by the instruments. There is a phenomenon of the energy beam coming through the top. 28 kilohertz is the frequency of the ultrasound, which cannot be heard or seen, but it is there. In order to get the ultrasound, which we are getting today using for medical purposes, you have to have either mechanical device, electromagnetic machine, or piezoelectrical effect. In the last 6 decades, we learned that when you press the quartz crystal, you got the energy coming out. If you keep pressing it, you got the energy beam. Theoretically, it could mean that inside the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, we have a huge piece of the quartz crystal, and 100 prehistorical Bosnians squeezing it. Now, the only problem is the rate. 28 kilohertz means that they are doing that at the rate of 28,000 times per second. Well, even if it is from Bosnians, it's too much. So we called this team again 3 months later. We said, okay, instead of 15 minutes on the top, let's spend 3 days. Let's make sure that this is a continuous energy beam. So sure enough, they spent Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We got energy beam continuous. Then they placed their instruments on the top of the surface. And we could read the intensity, the strength of the signal. We placed it 3 meters higher. The strength was higher. We placed it another 3 meters higher. It was even stronger. Now the physicists got afraid. They said, well, it contradicts the physical laws. It contradicts our technology known as the Hertzian technology, which says closer to the source, the stronger the signal. If you move away, the signal is getting weaker. Here we have something opposite. Let's call it non-Hertzian technology. The only guy who was experimenting with the non-Hertzian technology was, well, the guy who was born 200 kilometers from Visoko, Nikola Tesla. In his lab in Colorado Springs, 120 years ago, he was doing experiments with the Tesla coil. He was sending the electricity, the energy, from one end of his lab to the other one, 15 meters, about 50 feet. And he was able to do that wirelessly and to lit up the light bulbs on the other side of the room. Just before his lab was burned down, he was able to perform another experiment. Using his Tesla coil and the ionosphere, he was sending the energy to Colorado Springs. I need to do something with this mic. And he was able to lit up 20,000 homes. The ionosphere is unlimited source of the energy, free energy. He was sending it wirelessly, no waste of the energy. Well, you know what happened with his inventions. They put them in the drawers because the corporations preferred to build thermo and hydro and nuclear power stations and to build all these transportation means and to sell us the energy very expensive. Because if we used his inventions, we would have free energy. And free energy is a base for the free society. And the profit economy didn't like that. Now, we had the Italian professors from University of Trieste, Paolo De Bertolis, coming with his team from Milan and Trieste, and measuring that ultrasound. And let's hear for the first time how the pyramid speaks. Oops. We converted this 28 to 8 kilohertz. This is the sound, this is the wind. These are Italians talking. So I've been telling you about a lot of things tonight. Pyramids built on all 6 continents, history-changing process, energy beam. How to deal with all that? 3 magic words. Buy this book. With buying this book, you are helping our archaeological digging in Bosnia. A few words about the underground tunnel complex. 6 years ago, when I discovered the Bosnian pyramids, in my first book, I said, we are going to discover the underground labyrinth. The professors from Sarajevo were saying, what is this guy talking about? First pyramids, now underground labyrinth? Well, guess what? 6 years later, I was right. The entrance to one section of the labyrinth is 2.5 kilometers from the Pyramid of the Sun. As we can see, the height above the sea level, the light blue, so we are getting close to the pyramids, so we're going to get exactly under the pyramids. So far, we have cleaned about 500 meters going towards the pyramid. The tunnels are built in the material called conglomerate. Conglomerate is when you have the flood, the water recedes, what you get is pebbles and rocks and sand, and it accumulates over thousands of years, and you got the conglomerate, it's getting more and more compact, and somebody built those tunnels in the conglomerate. Well, we found a piece of wood in the conglomerate. Why was that important? Because it can tell us when the first floods hit the region. We sent this piece of wood to the labs in Germany, Christian Albert University in Kiel, and in Poland, Gliwice Radiocarbon Lab. They were telling us the age of the wood is 32,000 years. Why is that important? Well, if the conglomerate is 32,000 years old, everything under the conglomerate is even older. Well, we are finding stuff under the conglomerate. 2006, we got the first traces of huge megalithic block. 2011, completely cleaned, 8 tons, 18,000 pounds. And it is sitting on the plate, on the support. If you have support, it means somebody picked up this place, put the plate, put the megalithic block on top of it, and in between, we are finding a binding material based on calcium carbonate. Why? They didn't want this block to move left or right. Why? Because 22 meters below, we have crossing of 2 underground rivers. So what? Well, when you have one underground river, you have energy coming up. If you have 2 of them, you have spiral energy coming up. So this is very potent energy place. And they placed this megalith exactly above that energy. Even the surface looks like relief, like somebody was playing the plasters, making the hills and the valleys and the rivers. We took the sample from the megalithic block, sent it to the leading scientific institution in Croatia, and after 2 sophisticated analyses, Röntgen and phase analysis, they concluded The sample from megalith K2 is an artificial ceramic material. Well, in archaeology, we know about ceramic vases, ceramic dishes, small stuff. But in Bosnia, everything is big and bigger. So we have 18,000 pounds ceramic sculpture covered by conglomerate, potentially over 30,000 years. What was happening then? Anthropological genetics is telling us that the oldest people in Europe are the Basques, 55,000 years. Northern Spain, southern France, and the second oldest, the center of the Balkan region. Bosnia, Herzegovina, Dalmatia, Adriatic Islands, 35 to 40,000 years. Well, we got these people with the georadar instruments checking this megalithic block. Two conclusions. The first one, the block is made from two layers, 30 centimeters base and 10 centimeters we got a cover. But in between, exactly in the middle, they located the oval structure inside the block. So what they did, they poured the base, they put this oval structure, and then they sealed it. So what we have now, 22 meters below, we got the energy that's hitting this oval object. It starts working. It is surrounded by ceramic. The ceramic vibrates, producing magnetic fields. We have several megalithic blocks, so we have a lot of the magnetic fields. Our megalith K1, 2006, completely covered by conglomerate. 2011, completely clean. 4 tons on its surface, symbols carved, more symbols, total of 25 symbols. So somebody was literate long, long time ago. There are tens of kilometers of the tunnels. In order to make them, they had to get out hundreds of thousands of tons of material. What material? Pebbles and rocks and sand. What did they do with the hundreds of tons, if not millions of tons of material? Well, they used it to coat the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, the biggest pyramid. All they needed was the binding material, this yellowish clay. So they used every cubic meter of material, becoming the first eco-friendly civilization. A huge network of the tunnels, but all of them are filled up with the material and then sealed off with the dry walls, with the stones from the river beds, the first one, the second one, the third one. We can see the tunnel here, side tunnel, fill up with the material, and then closed with the dry wall. Well, in that fill-up material, we found some organic material. We sent it to the 2 labs, the Engström lab, University of Uppsala, Sweden. The organic sample, 3,091 years. Silesian University of Technology, Gliwice, Poland, 4,610 years. So we can see that the mystery of the tunnels, the first one are the builders, and the second one, those who came afterwards, and they were filling up those tunnels, not warning us to find out what's behind. Now, if you have hundreds of thousands of tons of materials, they had some big reason to do that. It's not a local secret, it's a global secret. The details from the drywall, another one. Summer of 2010, we discovered the first underground chamber, 250 meters from the entrance. It was filled up with the material, which we removed out thanks to the volunteers. And then we discovered that the length of this chamber is 12.5 meters, 4 meters wide, 50 square meters the surface, 4 meters is high, and 8 side tunnels coming to this chamber. If you have 8 tunnels, people coming from 8 different directions, had to be a very important meeting place. So we were thinking about the purpose. What we did, we were checking the concentration of negative ions. As we know, the negative ions clean the atmosphere from the microbes and viruses and bacteria. The average concentration in this room, at the entrance of the tunnel, in Sarajevo or Budapest, is pretty much the same, 1,000 kiloions per cubic centimeter. But as we were getting deeper to the tunnel, the concentration was getting bigger and bigger, and in the chamber was 43 times bigger. 43 times. Today we make ionizator, and we sell them to the hospital, so they have very clean hospital rooms. But somebody had some type of the underground hospital thousands of years back. Last summer we discovered the first underground lake of the beautiful blue color. If it is a blue color, it means that during the long time the water was melting the minerals. And then last November we discovered the second chamber, 3.5 meters high with the 7 side tunnels, but they were all filled up with the material. And finally, in December of 2010, we discovered the third chamber. The chamber was 30 square meters with the 6 tunnels, all of them filled up with the material. Where to go? Well, we've been doing it for 5 years. We took the compass, we are going south, southeast, towards the pyramid of the sun. We removed the drywall from one of the side tunnels. We were starting removing the material, and then we saw the hole. If there is a hole, it means, well, there is no fill-up material in the back. For the first time in almost 6 years, we found 3 sections of underground tunnels. We were very exciting because for thousands of years, the human foot was not in there. So if you think about the biggest reward for the researcher, that's not the money, that's not the position, that's not the title, but the moment like this. We went north, we went south, we could see how those tunnels were made. Also, we could see the water. From that point on, the slope changed. Namely, from the third chamber to the outside, the slope was 1.5 degrees, ideal for the fine water drainage. But from that point on, it changes direction. So, since there is water, the water was getting deeper and deeper, from 5 to 10 to 50 centimeters and even more. Oops. We brought one of the engineers from Bosnia. He had an instrument designed by Russians to figure out if there is any negative radiations. As we know, right now we are exposed to the cosmic radiations. We have Hartmann grids, 2 meters east-west, 2.5 meters north-south. If you stay in an intersection, it's very damaging for our health. We have Curies, we have Schneider's grids, we have underground radioactivity. It's natural radioactivity. You have underground waters and negative energy. Our body cells fight those enemies all our lives. And they don't let us live as much as we could. Well, we came with the instruments, not pendulum, not dowsing equipment, but with the electronic instruments. And Hartmann's grid was not in existence here. No Schneiders, no Curies, no any type of radioactivity. The results equal 0. If that's the case, what does it mean? It means that our body cells can do their job, what they are designed to do. They can start communicate. They can see where are the deficiencies. They can balance the energy. So they tested me, of course. Before and after I've been in the tunnels. Before, what they found out was generally health was okay, but in the case of the pair organs, for example, the chest, one organ works better, in my case, left side. The other one is not used, to the full capacity because obviously we don't breathe right. So I went inside, I came back. What happened? No enemies, no radiations. The cells were communicating. They detected that the left side has more energy. They were taking that energy, sending it to the right side. So they were balancing our body organs. That's first. And second conclusion, we live in the world full of toxins. The food, the air, the water, detergent, toothpaste, And those toxins are getting very deep. They're coming on a cellular level. We cannot even scan them or detect them. Well, while in the tunnels, the cells find those toxins and they are pushing them on the surface. So when they measured me after I came back, he found a lot of toxins. Of course, the results are not sensational after only one visit, but if you keep going there, it will improve your health. A few photos from the new sections. The drivers do not block the side tunnels anymore, but it seems that they were built as the support for the ceiling. If they are built as a support of the ceiling, it means that the drivers and conglomerates, they are all artificially made here. Now, we entered, we found the water. The water has been there for thousands of years. If you leave the cup with the water here for 10 days, with the microbes and bacteria, it will be no good. If you leave the water for thousands of years, what would you expect? Well, we took the samples, sent it to the Regional Institute for the Water. They did microbiological and chemical analysis and concluded that the water is drinkable after thousands of years. Why? Because of the negative ions. The designers made sure that because of the higher concentration of negative ions, the atmosphere will be clean. They built those channels for the water, and the water was getting deeper and deeper, as I said. So at one place, it is 165 centimeters for 30 meters. And what we try to do, we try to pump the water out so we can continue our walking. Well, the pump was working from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the water level, was getting smaller and smaller. We came back in the morning, the water level came back where it was. We were doing it for 3 days, the same thing. Conclusion, we have underground water spring. If you have water, you have life. So underground, under the pyramids, they had tunnels, intersection chambers, water, especially clean water, probably healing water. They had all the elements to live and survive. In other tunnel complex, we don't have time for it. Actually, the part of the same one. In the last 6 years, hundreds of thousands of tourists and visitors came to Bosnia, the country known for the war and the violence and the war criminals, all the negative vibrations. We said we're going to change that. It'll become a country of archaeology and volunteers and new discoveries and the positive energy. We even named one of the pyramids the Pyramid of Love. No pyramids like that in the world. Archaeologists and mainstream science, they don't deal with the, such term, but they forgot that the words are very powerful. And the most powerful word is the word love. If you sign that word, the huge structure, it is going to color the valley with the love. And these are type of messages we want to send to the world. And I'm going to finish with the artifacts. On the Sun Pyramid, interesting plate. When we color the carvings, we might be getting either directions where to go in underground labyrinth or even some star systems. Pyramid of Dragon, probably amulet with the 2 types of stone. KTK tunnel, fragments of a stone circle. In the underground, the labyrinth Ravne, we probably found a mold. And we have the very unusual combination of 3 metals here. Tumulus in Vratnica, stone tool, or maybe first boomerang. Again, tumulus in Vratnica. On one of the terraces, we found this beautiful stone foot with 5 toes. Anatomy of the foot. The shoe size, 36. And maybe the proof that the pyramids are built by women. The German archaeologist who worked independently from us, 3 kilometers from the Sun Pyramid, found this fine ceramic pyramid. As we can see, 4 triangular faces, plateau on the top, even the ornaments are the pyramids. Well, they found it in the cultural layer between 6,000 and 7,000 years. It seems that the Neolithic man was looking around him, and of course, he saw the pyramids with no plant, with no wood, with no layers of soil. And he was building his artistic objects. Or maybe even at that time, Bosnia was very attractive for the tourists, so it was the first souvenir from Bosnia. 2008, we had the first international scientific conference about the Bosnian pyramids. We got a couple of 3 guys who were at the conference. I want to say hello to them. 55 scientists from 15 countries concluded that the Bosnian pyramids are archaeological phenomena. Professor Dr. Nabil Selim, 3 times PhD in archaeology, discovered 4 pyramids in Egypt, said that the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is the biggest in the world. Our leading archaeologist this year, Dr. Sara Acconci, University of Milano. She came from 3,000 euros in Milan to 600 euros in Bosnia. But this is a professional challenge. Dr. Ezra Zubrov, Buffalo State University, but also University of Toronto and Cambridge University, after his visit, said that we need to find out who built the Bosnian pyramids, when they were built, and what is the connection between the tunnels and the pyramids. Last year, we organized the first organized international summer camp for volunteers. And we had, from June to September, 500 young people and those who feel young in their hearts, because the youngest volunteer was 8 years old, the oldest 82. They came from 30 countries, and they were having a joy with us, discovering new stuff. This year, I already have 750 applicants from 42 countries and 6 continents, and money for 250 applicants. But again, Bosnia will be the most positive spot on European soil. They are bringing their enthusiasm, we give them our love, with the wish that one day what we have in the bottom left corner, the pyramid covered by soil and vegetation, we again have exposed the biggest, the oldest, and the most beautiful of all, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Thank you.